Okay, so sorry for any background noise. I just wanted to give my thoughts on this whole Dak Prescott situation, and I'm gonna say this, okay? I believe the reason why the Dallas Cowboys have not signed Dak Prescott to a long-term deal is because they don't think Dak Prescott will be there that long. With them bringing in Mike McCarthy, and we've all seen this, where teams have quarterbacks in place, but when you bring in a new head coach, usually you want the head coach to find the guy, to find their quarterback that they feel comfortable with. All right, this is why Robert Griffin III and Dwayne Haskins was such a problem for Jay Gruden, because Jay Gruden didn't want Robert Griffin III. I believe that. He didn't want Dwayne Haskins. But because those two guys at the position that the Redskins picked were the most suitable, or were the most highly touted, they took them. So usually when you have a head coach, you want the head coach to have the guy that he wants. Just like, I think that's the issue right now in Green Bay. I think that's going to be an issue. I'm not going to say it's an issue right now, but that's going to be an issue in Green Bay, is between Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur, where Matt LaFleur pretty soon is going to want to move on. I think that's why they picked Jordan Love, because you want your head coach, especially a head coach that you believe in, that's going to be the future of your franchise. You want them to have their guy that they feel comfortable with. Okay? And I think that's the problem right now with Dak and the Cowboys not reaching some kind of a deal. Is because with Mike McCarthy being there, this is his first year. He's new to Dallas. You give him Dak Prescott for the first season, an already established quarterback. You give him a guy that pretty much has been there for years, and that already I guess is comfortable. All right, and you allow him to play out the season. I think that's why they're trying to franchise tag him instead of sign him, is because once the season is over, they're going to be looking to move on, and then in the draft next year, if they could pick high enough, best case scenario for Dallas, Dak Prescott doesn't sign the franchise tag. Dak Prescott holds out. He doesn't play. Okay, and you're able to get a top 10 pick next year. And now you're talking about being in the running to get a guy like a Trevor Lawrence if you're high enough. So I don't know. I think that's what Dallas is looking towards doing, because it's kind of weird that they didn't even offer him a contract. I don't believe they offered him a contract at all. I think that they were talking about numbers. I think they were talking about the potential, but I don't think they offered him anything. Or you know what? That's not true. I think they did offer him one contract. But I believe Dak wanted more money or something. This whole situation is a mess. But Dak Prescott, I believe, is on his way out. And I've been one of the guys to say, if Dallas doesn't want him there, he shouldn't give him a contract. You shouldn't just pay a guy because he's been on your team for years. And to compare him to Carson Wentz, and to compare him to Jared Goff is unfair to him and to that organization, to Dallas, because Dak hasn't played as well as Carson Wentz. You know what? Dak hasn't shown flashes of greatness like Carson Wentz. Now, I did make a video where I said that I believe Dak played better. Dak played a lot more consistently over 2 years than Carson. But Dak didn't show the greatness that Carson showed his second year. Dak didn't show that. So that's why I wouldn't put him on the same platform as Carson Wentz. And Jared Goff got his team to the Super Bowl. So let's not compare him to Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. But let's get to it.
Anonymous sports agents done by The Athletic, too, said that Dak Prescott and the Cowboys' inability to get a long-term deal done has been the most surprising event this offseason. One agent went so far as to call it a, quote, big miss for Dallas. So, Shannon, do you agree?
Absolutely.
And this is what I find humorous about this whole situation. Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless. Shannon Sharp during the season, every time Dak would have a good game versus whoever, usually it's one of the lesser teams. But whenever Dak would have a game and Skip would be excited about Dak's game, Shannon would be so unenthused. he would be just, well, you know who he played against? Miami, the Giants. Like, he would throw him under the bus. But now that it's time for, contract talks, now Dak Prescott is just this wonderful player who's done everything that the Dallas Cowboys could ever want him to do. Bro, and then Skip is like on the opposite end of the spectrum, where he talked him up all season, talked about how good he played and how it's really not his fault, and how there were some issues with the team because of Jason Garrett. But now we're talking about contracts, and now we're talking about paying him. Now you want him to take a pay cut because you don't think he's good enough, or you don't think he has been that good. But it's whatever.
Been telling Skip this for the longest time. Skip, I think the thing is now is that there's bad blood because that, and everybody keeps saying, well, he's more in line with Wentz, he's more in line with Goff. But those two teams gave their guys security with 2 years still remaining on their deal. And the Cowboys did not do that for Dak Prescott.
That's because Jared Goff got that team to the Super Bowl. Also, Jared Goff and Sean McVay are extremely close. They are extremely close. Carson Wentz got his extension because he had an MVP caliber season where he looked like the best quarterback in the NFL. Like he was on, like what we're looking at with Patrick Mahomes, that's what we were seeing with Carson Wentz. The only thing that's different between the Patrick Mahomes situation and the Carson situation was that Carson got hurt right before the playoffs started. But Carson looked incredibly strong. He looked like the best quarterback in the NFL that year.
The question becomes this, Skip. I believe, and I think we're going to talk about this a little later, he's going to play under the tag this year. I don't believe they get a deal done by the deadline, which, if I'm not mistaken, is 4 p.m. Eastern time.
It is.
I don't believe they get that deal done. So Dak plays well. I'm not saying he throws for 5,000 yards, but Dak plays well. Mm-hmm. You think he's going to come in and give him a discount next year? So guess where we are, Skip? We're at the exact same location.
Chances are they're not going to need him to give them a discount anymore. Because currently, I'm pretty sure right now, Mike McCarthy, Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones are all putting their heads together trying to figure out who is the best option for the Cowboys next season. Do not be surprised if Dak Prescott hits free agency and is not brought back. Do not be surprised. Like I said before, this is a 1-year thing. They just need him. They just need him for Mike McCarthy's first season. And once his first season is over, then they're going to look towards somebody else. They're going to bring in the guy that Mike McCarthy wants to bring in.
This year, and that's the problem. Dak says, you guys want me to give you a discount. You want everything. You want a discount. You want the number of years that you want. What do I get? I played this contract out. I had to navigate all these injuries where Goff and Wentz, they got security in the beginning. I did not. So,
and let's say this. As far as I'm concerned, Dak wasn't he wasn't a top quarterback prospect coming out of college. I mean, like on a level of a Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, he wasn't on that level. Those guys were potential number one picks at the gate. I mean, they were potential number one picks at the gate. Dak was more of a sleeper. He was the dark horse pick. Dallas got him in the 3rd round. Best believe if Dallas wouldn't have picked him in the 3rd round, this dude could have slipped into the 5th round, 6th round, anywhere late in the draft. It's not like they got this dude at an extremely friendly discount. Like as far as where they picked him up in the draft. Sure, Dak had to work for everything that he's earned, But come on, bro. Like, I don't know, that entitlement stuff. You usually reserve that stuff for like the number 1 picks, the top 10 picks. You know, not for 3rd round picks, man. Who has played well, but average. If we're talking about playing, we're talking average. He's an average, above average quarterback. He's not a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. He's not an All Pro caliber quarterback. He is an average to above average quarterback. Under the right situation, could give you solid numbers. And we've seen this his 2nd year, where he had a really big issue with passing the ball. When Ezekiel was out, he had a problem with passing the ball. He kept complaining about his receivers wasn't getting open, and it was hard for him to get the ball to the guys. And then they traded for Amari Cooper, brought Amari Cooper in, and Amari Cooper playing pretty much unbelievably well. Seeing as how he just got there, pretty much opened up the game for Dak, and we saw a different Dak the second half of the season. Like, I mean, I think Dak is a solid quarterback. I think he's good, but he is what you would expect your 3rd round picks to be if they develop right. He started a lot sooner than I thought, but he's pretty much what you expect the 3rd round quarterback to be. Decent, but they're not somebody that's gonna light the world on fire. Very rarely do you have those anomalies like a Drew. Jesus, I was about to say Drew Bledsoe, Drew Brees, who comes in, who pretty much plays in the NFL for like the first 7 years. And next thing you know, he goes to a different team and just completely loses his mind and become one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever throw the ball. Like very rarely you see guys like that come out of 3rd rounds, late rounds. You don't usually see. Best you can hope for is a Dak situation where a guy could come in, he could play well, make very little mistakes, but he could put a good enough product on the field where you can win and also put butts in the seat. Like, that's the best you can hope for. And right now, Dak is what Dallas could have hoped for. But he's not lighting the world on fire, okay? They're going to move on from him. That's the whole reason that was the whole reason why I went from point A to point B, C, D, E, is because I just needed to let that be known. He's a solid quarterback, but he's just not the guy that's going to get them over the hump. All right, so let's move on.
Now, they've gotten security with 2 years left. Jerry, you made me play this thing out. Do you know anything could have happened? Let's just say I'm Alex Smith. Unforeseen. Now, Alex Smith has made a lot of money. He was the number 1 overall pick. He got paid by San Francisco. He got paid by Kansas City. Yep. And he got paid again by Washington. Mm-hmm. But let's just...
This is why these rookies' agents, like when the rookies come out of the draft and they sign these contracts, they need to start adding... Sorry. I'm sorry. They need to start adding... I'm sorry, I'm kind of choking over here. But they need to start adding little things in their contract that affords them a secure future. Where if I draft a quarterback in the 2nd round, if the quarterback's agent came to me and say, well, listen, why don't you put performance incentives in the contract, and if he outperforms those performance incentives, put something in there that guarantees him a chance at an extension before his contract is up, or something like that, man. See, the more we get in life, I mean, the more we move forward in life, these players are starting to realize that they have options. They have options. They just got to have the balls to take the shot. These rookie deals do not have to be like prison. They don't have to be like these slavery deals where you're putting your body, you're risking your body, you're risking your health. Like every other guy out there that's getting paid 40, 50, 60 million, you're risking your health for $1 million, $5 million, on a rookie deal. You don't have to do that. And for a top pick, like Dak was a top pick, for a top pick to come in, like, I don't know. I think a lot can be fixed if people just have the nerve to demand. Put these teams on notice. Look, I'll play my contract. I'll sign whatever you want me to sign, but I need to make sure that if I outperform this contract, there is something in the future for me. So that way you're not left wondering if I get hurt, will this team just move on from me after my rookie deal? I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's a lot more complicated than I'm making it seem, but putting a lot of risk. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of the phrase. Betting on yourself takes more than just trying to outperform. Sometimes it takes outthinking or being a forward thinker, just thinking future wise. And I don't think a lot of players do that. And this is why they end up in these situations where when they get close to those final years and that contract is close to being over and they run the high risk of getting hurt or sustaining some kind of serious injury that will impair their ability to make big time money in the future. I mean, this is a preventative measure. Is getting incentives like that on your rookie deal. I'm just saying, but maybe it's far more complicated than I'm making it seem.
Hey, that wasn't the case, and the injury and the hope. Lord, please don't let that happen to Dak. But I'm saying Dak is looking at it like, nah, I need long-term security. Yep. Oh, $31 million, that's a lot of money. It is for 1 year. But when you see all these quarterbacks getting 60, 70, 80, $90 million guaranteed, Skip, he said, nah, Dak says, I can't do that. He says, I can't do you the same deal that Wentz and Goff got for the simple fact they had 2 years remaining. I have no years remaining. So you're going to have to pay a premium.
See, and this is another issue for me with this, is that players sometimes try to compare their money to other players when they don't produce the same amount. This is what I don't like about the salary cap, or not salary cap, I'm sorry, market value. Because market value puts it in the mind of certain players that you don't have to perform as well as some of these other top players, but because you play a position and you are considered to be one of the top, one of the upper echelon of football players, you deserve to demand the money of some of the top guys. Like market value, I don't know, it puts an unfair estimate on mediocre players. This is why we'll see some guys, like basketball, for instance. Timofey Mozgov got a crazy fucking contract. I'm pretty sure most people don't even know who the fuck Timofey Mozgov is. But this dude was getting paid. I believe he got he signed like a 2 or 3 year deal for like $15 million a year. I'm like, bro, like you don't even have to do anything to get that kind of money. But I digress.
Price on that in order for me to sign this contract. And so, Skip, it was a huge miss by the Cowboys. Jerry Jones, you can say what you want, huge miss or whatever. Jerry and Stephen Jones are not convinced Dak Prescott is their guy. Because if they were...
They're not, and they haven't been. If you remember, when Dak was drafted and brought in, there were reports saying how with Tony Romo still being there, Jerry didn't want Dak on the field. He wanted Tony out there. He didn't want to let Tony go. He wanted Tony to be the starting quarterback. But Dak, I guess, beat him out. Usually stuff like that don't just go away because people stop thinking about it. That shit still lingers. Jerry was not enthused about Dak when he first got there, and that was a report.
Vince, this deal would have been done.
I was with you until your last statement, and then you lost me. But back to Jenny's question. Big miss? Yeah, it's a huge miss. It's a horrendous miss. It's an excruciating miss for Cowboy fans. It should have been done a year ago, and it didn't get done. But here's the bottom line. In all that matters at this moment, it would be a much bigger miss to give Dak Prescott $43 million a year right now. And you have to frame it with what Jerry has done here just recently with his Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones has a long-earned reputation for overpaying. He's the king of overpaying in the National Football League. He gets too close to players, although he's not that close to Dak.
Right.
But he gets too close, and he goes too far to make them happy and to take care, quote unquote, of those players. So we talked yesterday. We had the argument about most overpaid Cowboy right now. Well, you can debate it all day and all night because there are a bunch of them. but Zeke, you could argue, he was ranked by Pro Football Focus last year the 10th best running back, and he got the most money at that point any running back had ever gotten. DeMarcus Lawrence has a horrendously overpaid.
Let's not try to attach a player's value based to rankings of like based to rankings created by websites who most people that work for these websites have never played a game of organized football in their lives, that don't know the amount of talent, the amount of work it takes to do what a lot of these guys do. And a lot of times that kind of thing could skew your perception of what player is really better. I mean because there was a list they put out called it was the top 10 or something most explosive running backs. And this is what they see. This is what people, when they look at sports, that's what they think. That's what they think about. They think about the most exciting. They think about the most interesting. They don't see guys like Mike Conley, basketball reference again. Guys like Mike Conley who don't do anything special, don't do anything fantastic, but they do their job, and they do their job incredibly well. They don't get rewarded the same as a guy like a Steph Curry, or not even Damian Lillard gets rewarded, but like a Steph Curry and Kyrie Irving, who do what they do, but they make it look so fantastic, and they draw attention based on the level of excitement they generate with their ability to play the game. Now, I'm not saying Mike Conley is on the level of a Kyrie Irving or a Steph Curry, but Mike Conley was a great NBA player during his time in Memphis. He was a solid NBA player. Some would say an old school style point guard. And he doesn't get rewarded the same, just like Damian Lillard. Now, Damian Lillard is a lot more flashy with what it is that he does than Mike Conley, but he's still not on a level of a Steph Curry or a Kyrie Irving, who get more recognition, who get more nods because of, name recognition, fan support. A lot of times, man, they think that sports is more flash and style than it is actual substance, hard work, and meticulous detail that goes into what it is that these players do. So when we talking about these rankings, a lot of times these rankings are taking in a person's affection or a person's feelings toward a certain player. This is why Saquon is considered to be the best running back in the league, because of his ability to break off these explosive runs. These crazy runs where, he'll just rip off a 60, 70, 80-yard run out of nowhere. Or his ability to evade tackles. I mean, the guy runs beautifully. So it will generate more fan support. That does not make him better than anybody. Because if I'm being honest, I would take Zeke. You could teach a running back to catch the ball. That's been the biggest knock against Zeke, is his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. You could teach a running back how to catch the ball out of a backfield. But Zeke is one of those big, hefty, stocky guys that can rip off a physical 5, but he can also turn the corner around a guard or around a tackle and, break for like 7, 8, 9, a first down and make it look effortless. Whenever Zeke gets into the open field, man, I'm thinking this dude about to take it to the house. Because he's so big, he's so fast, he's so physical, but they don't look at that stuff. They look at the plays that make them feel good. Now, I've been going on for a while about this shit, but I'm done. But let's not attach rankings to. Let's not try to compare, make rankings versus worth like a comparative, because it's not, man. It's not. I can make a ranking right now off the top of my head for absolutely no reason, and that does not give any validity to a person's worth, or a player's worth. It doesn't give validity to that. And a lot of times, man, I think that we get caught up in that. Like Skip, for instance, he likes to talk about Pro Football Focus as like they're the gods of football. You know, like they're the word, they're the final say. You know, well, Pro Football Focus put out they put out this list ranking the top guys with top guys in QBR, and this is like, let's not do that, because see, this is why market value is just affected so much by public perception. It shouldn't be, man. I think you should pay a player based on what you think is good. And we should stop trying to compare that value to other players, and we should stop trying to diminish a player's value based on what we believe. Because, if a team wants to go out there and pay a running back $30 million, which is a crazy ass number, if they want to go out there and pay a running back $30 million, who are we to say that is overpaying them? If that's what they're willing to give them, somebody said this before, and I agree 100% with it. A player's value is what a team is willing to spend. That is what your value is. Whatever a person is willing to give you is how much you're worth. No, whatever a person is willing to give you and you accept, that's your worth. So, I don't know, bro. This Dallas thing it's a real mess, man. A lot's going on. Hopefully, because I do believe Dallas will move on. When Dallas moves on, hopefully Dallas finds the guy that they can slide in that slot and feel comfortable with, and hopefully Dak lands somewhere that will appreciate him for what it is he brings to the game. But I'm done, man. All right.